Good morning, LinkedIn friends, Valley First Nation. Happy Sunday. It is August 16th, 2026. Singularity Soothsayers is coming back um, for one real reason here with Nico, um, which I know I at least started the first conversations with Claude back in 2024. Still trying to figure out when the first episode was. I'm seeing the Oracle here. My first conversation with the Oracle was June 14th, 2025. So
Yeah.
definitely well before that. Um, and uh, I'm here because there was a recent, uh, and I hope we just get to play clips and probably just can't care if YouTube's gonna pull them down or whatever. But uh,
Right.
it's started with the thinking about it recent clip from Elon talking about money's not gonna matter in 10 years, and then the latest episode. Not even the latest. I'm like two behind on moonshots because they came out with like three this week, three all over 2 hours.
Yeah.
Um, I listened to Tuesday's session on the morning walk and clipped. It was the most active I've been in clipping from an episode. And one of the questions that Saleem answered at the end was, uh, like, what happens if money doesn't matter in 2 years? So play some of this stuff. So much other relevant things during that episode, including somebody who's starting, you know, a different way to think about markets and the valuation, which we might be doing something similar, but not really on
Mhm.
our side. But yeah, we've gone lots of we've tried to make it more practical since we started this show. We started doing the daily show and Tech Stack Reimagined, all with an effort to help folks in the day to day practical understanding. But here's the deal: if you don't get your mind right, none of that shit's gonna matter. Like, you can't outwork this one. You
Yep.
can't just show up more earlier, later, work harder, find the hacks, and you're gonna get like, no. Like, money's I've we've been talking about that for a while, since the beginning of the show. Um, I'm fully aligned with what Elon said. And the more that people say that, why would you argue with them when they also have a lot of money and understand
Yeah.
how money moves and have more
Yeah.
clarity than any of us, simple folk, right?
So there
Like,
is there's this thing, and I don't know if they covered this, but look, you know, if you believe in simulation theory, it makes all this stuff really easy. But life is basically a game, right? And money makes the world go round in the United States game. That's just the rules of the United States game, right? We have the strongest arm of unregulated capitalism in the world. So that's the way it is. That being the case, what a lot of people say is, hey, how come prices don't ever roll backwards when they roll forward? The one thing to take into account, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because this affects the people at the bottom way more, right? Uh, in terms of ratio than it does the people at the top. The reason you can't roll it back is because everybody had to roll forward from the get. So, in order for the store to make up its prices, it had to charge more to ask more from the wholesaler, who had to work something out with the transport, who had to work something out with, the origin, right? So, the supply chain along the way had to increase its pricing. So, essentially, what you're saying is, hey, the entire supply chain now needs to decrease its prices, right? And the just the effort in doing that is like probably going to cost them money. But the biggest problem is that because they are corporations, they're actually legally beholden to earn profit for shareholders. So the shareholders matter in the case of Lowe's, Home Depot, not well, some places like Publix or it's huge, but it's privately owned. But like Kroger, Tyson Foods, all that stuff, right? They don't. This sounds harsh, but it just is what it is. Again, like it's the game. These guys want to win the game by any means necessary. This is what they do. All of these companies, like they don't care about you, and they really can't. At the end of the day, they have to care about the shareholders. If they don't, the shareholders can actually tank their company. So a company could be doing amazing, could be turning over amazing numbers. The profits could be better than ever. Performance could be better than ever. Leadership could be better than ever. If they tank the stock, that's it. It's over, right? All of their ability to borrow money now just disappears completely, right? So why all that stuff? Because of the fact that these guys play this game, because of the fact that the stuff is so out of whack. What's crazy is that everyone says, why doesn't the top just give money to the bottom at this point? The problem with that is you start causing inflation. You have to then raise the prices of everything else in order to keep that ratio. Like they're not going to move the ratio. They don't care. Like they could give all the money back. Like if you guys haven't noticed, every time the federal minimum wage moves up, prices on everything else move up. That's the game, right? So when will it stop mattering? And I've had this conversation with multiple capitalists. I love having this conversation at this point because it is the exact same conversation the guys have on moonshots. And it is, look, this technology only knows how to do one thing: be more efficient. All it can do. That's all it does. More efficient than before. Do math better than it did before. Write better than it did before. Come up with ideas better than it did before. Come up with new ideas better than the older ideas. Come up with newer ways of doing things that were better than the older ways of doing things. Like, that's it. Like, that's all it knows how to do is just make better and better and better, right? Well, if it only knows how to do that, efficiency is like, if there ever was an enemy to capitalism, it would be efficiency. Because if you made efficiency too abundant and the efficiency got to the point where it was so great, then it would automatically do what's known as min-maxing. It would give the minimum player in the game access to the maximum capabilities. And even though it seems like that's the case now, right? We all say like, oh, the American dream, like anybody can go and get filthy rich. Yeah, okay, okay, yeah, because we're all filthy rich, right? Yeah, all right. Now it's the case where, yeah, there's gonna be so many, they keep talking about, well, yeah, manual labor, they're never gonna take over manual labor. You have to think like where we've gone in 4 years is astounding to me. It's not even worth mentioning because of the fact that it's so astounding. We went from, man, this thing is so funny in terms of the outputs, like it's such a joke and hardly anyone was using it, to like over 1 billion people using it now. And it's cracking math problems that people haven't solved for 60 years. It's cracking math problems that people have never solved before. It's like helping to cure cancers, creating new vaccines that we didn't even, like the brand new AI, fully front to back, end to end vaccine that we would have never figured out because of the fact that it can do it so quickly, so efficiently, right? Starts making medical research super efficient. So guess who gets to do even more medical research? more and more, more and more labs, more and more private institutions can do it. And the costs start going down because the technology keeps getting more efficient. So now it's all like we're already at the point where you can use a portable device. And if you got in on this company early, you are so happy right now. It's because it's the only one portable device that does ultrasound with just a USB cable. So you just connect it to your phone, and then you have an ultrasound. So you can look at your baby at home anytime you want to now. You don't have to go to a special place anymore. Now, tell me that in 5 years you're not going to have that on your phone, and you're just going to rub on your belly and you're going to see it on your phone. That's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. So you're going to have, and the app on your phone is going to have built-in medical care. The medical care now is so good that it's picking up on like issues that kids are having that doctors would have didn't pick up on. Multiple doctors just couldn't figure it out. GPT figured it out. Claude figured it out, right? So it's going to get to the point where that stuff is just built into your phone. Apple is trying to do that. I mean, Tim Cook, see you, buddy. You did the best that you could. Apple is trying to do that. They had a huge focus on that. I'm pretty sure that Samsung's going to get there as well. And it's Google definitely going to get there. It's going to be the case where like you just hold the phone up to your eye or something like that, or just up to your face, and it's going to just do this rundown and do a whole just health diagnostic for you, right? You'll know stuff that you'll be able to from your phone. Again, we're talking 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, when this stuff is foolproof. 5 years from now, foolproof, better than a doctor. 5 years from now, you will bitch if a human tells you something. They'll get in trouble. 5 years from now, there's going to be lawyers who will be suing doctors who didn't consult AI before they gave their diagnosis. 10 years for sure, but I'm pretty sure 5 years, because it's already the point where it's out diagnosing most doctors, especially when it comes to radiology, right? We've gone, it was the point where we were like, it was like 15% under, and then it was like, yeah, but that plus the human, put it like, whatever, even 30% higher than just the human. And now it's like, well, the human and the AI is like, 80%, but the AI is like, 89% now. It's not going backwards. It's going to hit 100% and then it's over.
You might have to try hard to find a doctor that's available with it's probably not going to be loud.
Like underground stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I keep in my head, I'm thinking Judge Dredd. Like you're going to have to, you know what I mean? What was that movie? Repo Man, right? Where it's just like, yeah, you're going to get a mechanic somewhere in the in the boroughs or whatever it is, right? Like,
yeah. Well, let's take a look at this this clip. I'm gonna do the one from Moonshots because I want to hear their commentary too. Share a screen here.
I want to get your take after this too. I want to see where you're at.
I definitely have one. Let's see. There's just some dots I want to connect for folks before we dive in. Share here.
And then I really want to discuss this one because it has people both excited and fearful. I want to address the fear there.
Money won't matter in 2036.
I'm not sure that the people who bought your shares think that money won't matter in 2036.
Well, what do you want money for? You want money for goods and services. Yeah. Well, if that is so abundant that there's more, that the robots and AI are providing more goods and services than any human could possibly consume, what do you need money for in that case? I'll make a prediction, which is that deflation will be the issue, not inflation. Because as the output of goods and services increases, if the output of goods and services increases faster than the money supply, you will have deflation.
I think it's totally ironic. This was an interview by The Economist.
Of the world's first trillionaire.
Yes. Yeah. Gentlemen, thoughts? Salim?
I think there's a couple of different threads here, right? Thread one is we're reaching abundance and the cost of things will drop radically. But abundance in production doesn't mean you end up with abundance everywhere. Because you could have eliminated scarcity and ownership and access and location, and that would be amazing. But money is going to be relevant as long as you need an exchange mechanism. So as long as you need that to allocate stuff that's scarce, money as the means of exchange will stay. Let's remember there's 3 uses for money: means of exchange, unit of account, and store of value, right? And so this would hit a store of value to some extent. It would hit the means of exchange to some extent, but the exchange unit will become really, or unit of account, etc. I think the biggest challenge here is not that abundance is impossible. It's that if you end up in the wrong way, abundance will get captured by a few big companies, which is where the wealth inequality has been coming in. I think the hugest opportunity as we distribute and democratize, Peter, back to your words, technology, you also democratize opportunity. And I think the best framing I've seen for any of this is, can we get abundance of opportunity? And I think that's where technology will take us.
Yes, Alex, you made that point, abundance of freedom.
Yeah, I construe Elon's comments as, I'll use the technical term, Star Trek economics. I think he's arguing that 10 years from now, we'll live in a Star Trek economy where, and I think there's some fine print on this. I don't think he really means to say everything has been demonetized. I think what he really means, I think what he's shorthanding, is that most aspects of daily living as we would construe them today in 2026 will have been demonetized 10 years from now. So food, shelter, healthcare, education, utilities, education, entertainment, all of these things will have been demonetized, and you won't need money because we'll be living in an abundant, in that sense, future. But I think there will be many things still that are not so abundant that they've been demonetized 10 years from now. Like, I don't know, if we have the ability to go to another star system, probably still somewhat expensive. Or spend a week on the moon, maybe there's some price there, or just owning, some scarce resource that's antique, collectible. This is not investment advice, but there are some things I think that will resist demonetization for longer than 10 years. If I had to put my finger to the wind and guess when demonetization hits the total economy, don't hold me to this, and not investment advice, doubly so for anyone investing in 30-year treasuries. I would guess approximately 30 years out.
Yeah, a funny story, AJ Scaramucci, who was one of my interns, one of my strike force members, started a company collecting obviously scarce things like Tyrannosaurus skeletons and
Pokemon. I know AJ pretty well. AJ, if you're watching, I'm not sure what's up with those Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, he's collecting the best, the best first edition comics and so forth. I mean, it's an interesting strategy, but I wrote a piece about this after Elon published it, or after we had the conversation with Elon, and the best way I think this works is we're going to end up providing some level of UBI. I call them COVID checks, right? $3,000 a month, which today gives you a bare minimum level of living. But all of a sudden, in this scenario, AI is today already and will be in the future the best physician. An optimist on AI will be the best surgeon, and the cost of that is capex and electricity. And then, autonomous vehicles, we're going to see not just 1 or 2, but a dozen car as a service AVs, right? Beating each other out to bring the cost down. So all of a sudden, $3,000 goes a lot further than ever before. You want a house? Great. A fleet of Optimus robots will build it for you. So it's a massive demonetization in the future.
There's a monster elephant in the room, though. okay, which
Tell
is
us about
the
it.
radical transition this is going to require in our fiat currency systems, because all our fiat currency systems are absolutely dependent on scarcity. If you move to abundance, we have a huge challenge. We've mentioned this before on the pod. This is Jeff Booth's observation. We actually should have Jeff as a guest sometime. He made the point that over the last 50 years, every dollar increase in GDP has come with a $4 increase in debt. Okay. And I use a metaphor for this. So imagine you decide to build a TV factory. You borrow $10 million to build a TV factory. And your business plan says, I'm going to pay this back if I can sell the TVs at $1,000 each. I'll be able to pay back the loan. Problem is that a year later, that $1,000 TV can only be sold for $500. And a year later, it can only be sold for $250. You're never paying back the $10 million. And this is how we're growing the global economy. So this is the printing money problem that we have, where we're just radically printing money to keep the whole thing afloat, which is why assets are so important to own rather than cash, etc. Cash is deflating at about 14% a year. This is going to require a wholesale shift in how we measure the economy, which is why people are pointing at crypto and Bitcoin and other things. But this is the part that's going to kind of cause a massive problem for every currency in the world, and every central bank in the world is kind of panicking right now, because your only resource is to print money, and then you have inflation, and then like, oh my God, we can't have inflation. And so this is a circular wheel that can't be gotten off of, and the whole thing's going to come to a float.
If only the Federal Reserve had access to the same super intelligence that the rest of us did, they could design super intelligent fiscal and
That's what you're going to have to do.
especially
That's what
policy.
you're going to have to do. It's a great point.
You know, what I
Economics
find
is so broken.
incredibly,
Dave, yeah.
What I find incredibly interesting is that all of these AI visionaries, Elon, Demis, Dario, they all have played Civilization. They all speak in terms of Civ, and they've all read Ian Banks, the Culture series. And the Culture series, the entire book series is about the post-abundant world and what it'll be like. So when they get together and brainstorm on the future, they're so totally on the same page about how this is going to work. So then they do an interview, like Elon does an interview with The Economist or whatever, and he says, 10 years from now, so 2036, money won't matter. And they go, oh my God, does that mean the exchange rate between the pound and the euro? And then like what
They can't.
No, we're going to make so much stuff and have so much abundance that it won't matter. Did you understand the implication? Like, who gives a crap about the exchange rate or the deflation rate? Like the degree of change that's coming over that decade is so massive that you just mentioned one little aspect of it, like we don't care about money. It's just a tiny little component of this overall massive change. But
So,
All right. So that's clip one. And this is my usual contribution, is trying to connect these easy dots from like brilliant people. And then we'll get into the commentary. I think let's do this one next, because oil and energy drive a lot of the economy right now.
Yep.
This one's from the episode from Tuesday.
So Kush, is all compute created equally? Can I imagine that certain data centers are going to have faster access, are going to have a higher concentration of a particular set of GPUs? I mean, how are you going to differentiate in the final result?
Yeah. So we separate by GPU type. I think that's the main thing we sort of clarify on. And so it's like we have an H100, B200, B3s, A1. So that separates a lot of like the flops sort of issues. And then we also have it between regions, right? Because when you're on inference, it actually matters the latency that you're getting from different data centers in different regions. And then we clarify by having different sort of SLA targets and different sort of like parameters associated with that GPU in our methodology. It's very similar to, if you think about it, oil, right? When you dig oil, the oil you get from Venezuela is not the same that you get from Odessa, Texas. It's not the same that you get from Saudi Arabia. And yet it all trades on one market. It all trades based off of WTI or Brent, depending on like what you want to track. And so I think very similar to compute, it's like there are many different types of GPUs. There's sort of many different regions that you can get them from, many different operators of those GPUs. Yet they're all going to trade off of one sort of base index that we're trying to create, and everything else will sort of settle off of basis off that.
And is
the analogy to oil
up and operating?
It is up and operating. So our earliest in the US, we have a bunch of like sort of decentralized exchanges to operate, but in the US, the regulated exchange that we're on is Kalshi, so you could go and trade it today. And they have a sort of forwards curve that shows the price of compute as well.
Dave, sorry.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I got fire away.
So it seems to me right now you're building a GPU marketplace, but you're really creating a pricing system for intelligence. Is that the long-term goal?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the long-term goal for us is to basically it's to create an exchange for compute, right? And that starts with first creating the cash settled exchange for it. And then we also want to go into physical delivery. It's what we've been working on for a while now, where it's the cash settled portion is like you put up $1, AWG puts up $1, and you basically, if it goes up, he makes some money. If it goes down, you, etc. And that allows you to hedge costs, do all sorts of things. But the ultimate goal of it is that, let's say you have 10 extra GPUs and AWG is like, hey, 2 months from now, I need 10 GPUs. We can transfer your GPUs to AWG, and that's the sort of system that works. Think about it very similar to how Airbnb operates, where it's like, even though you own the house, you can transfer reservations or part of that to other people at time period.
But
I'm going to bring it.
So that trading of GPUs or access to intelligence and the speed of it, like, again, changing the form of like what I hold and is valuable that you want, and this exchange marketplace for this thing that's not money, right? Is why I highlight that.
Yeah.
Now, this next one is real quick from Dave. Let me get back to the clips. There we go. This one is, let's see here.
Okay, if money won't matter in 10 years, what will happen to things like mortgages and car loans? And that's from SKC 8802. Remember, 10 years is Alex's timeline to us vaporizing hydrogen off the sun with giant lasers. So
Better believe it.
I think you'll have a lot going on in your life other than mortgages and car loans. But yeah, it's good news. Houses will be so abundant and so cheap and so easy to manufacture with robots that you probably won't need to borrow money to buy one. You can have at least two.
And who's going to get a car anymore?
Yeah, car loans will be the same thing. You won't have a car. You'll be just hailing it and paying as you go.
Or
But
your
there
AI
will be
agent
other things.
will be calling your autonomous vehicle.
Exactly.
Dave, I'm curious.
So,
I mean, if I could just ask a question on this one, if you believe this, I certainly believe what you're saying. Why on earth are 10? This is not investment advice. Why are 10-year treasuries seemingly not reflecting that?
you know, that's a great example of how clueless the global, like the rate at which everything is happening and the number of people who really understand it is so small. Like you keep watching that number because it tells you the out of touch factor globally. You're dead right. It's a great metric. Also, I think in 10 years, everybody will want compute.
Yep.
He also has a story about his daughter that is like a biotech engineer at Moderna, and how it's very obvious that like 1% of the people in that very tech forward, innovative space like know anything about how AI is going to impact them. Like 99% are still clueless. So car loans and houses, like to the primary costs, like 10 years, like gone, presumably because of abundance. And again, who's buying a car? Like in a world of autonomous vehicles, right? So then if that like initial cost is gone, like this is the clip about what's going to happen to education. And like the whole space before I go and I need to, make some kind of money or do something that somebody pays me money for. Is
I'm
right
going to
here.
bring us to a conversation where we've had deceleration and a very broken system. I'm the dad of two 15-year-old boys. Salim's the dad of one 15-year-old boy, and both of us are pissed at the educational system right now. it's really tied to the Industrial Revolution and not to the future of humanity. So I'm going to cover 4 data points and then share some of the data from our education survey that we did on this podcast. I want to bring it back to everybody who's participated. So 4 data points. The first, undergraduate computer science enrollment at 4-year universities has dropped 8.4% in the spring of 2026, while graduate computer science enrollment is down 14%. The countervailing force is that universities and colleges are now embedding AI into all other majors. For example, University of Florida now offers 200 AI courses across 16 colleges. So AI is not independent on its own anymore. It's embedded and assumed across every discipline. Our second story, and Salim, this is one that you brought to my attention. Under a law passed in 2024 in select Chinese universities, they can now award a PhD, a doctorate, based not on a written thesis, but on building physical prototypes, on demonstrating new techniques or doing major installations instead of traditional papers. I think that is huge. I'm excited about that. I talked to Michael Kratsios about that. We need to reinvent it. It's doing, not talking about stuff. And since 2022, there have been 60 universities and 100 companies have collaborated in China on this system. The third point to make here is admissions to top PhD programs is down 15% over this year. And then fourth, Wall Street Journal just reported, and this is something we've talked about in the pod before, that well-to-do families are ditching traditional schools and instead selecting alternatives like Alpha School, like TKS, which is TKS is an after-school program, a weekend program that teaches mindsets, AI, and entrepreneurship. You can get more information there at tks.world. So that's the story. Salim, let's go to you first on this.
Wow, where to start? Okay, so let's just talk about a city on a hill, right? The future of the university, which we attempted with Singularity University, Peter, right? Doesn't look like anything like a university. It looked like AI tutors with projects and global peer communities and mentors and competitions, apprenticeships, and a constantly changing curriculum. One of the things we did at SU is we had a real-time curriculum development methodology so you could update every time. So that's a massive thing. I think the Chinese model is really interesting because you're taking the credentialing from I wrote something interesting to I built something consequential, right? And I think that is going to be, like we've talked about this before, the engineering degree of the future will not be I studied engineering for 4 years. After 4 years, what did you build? And based on that, you'll get stamped with a degree, right? I think that's a very powerful direction to go in. You can see this kind of starting to happen. I like what the University of Florida's trying to do. It's AI across all of these sectors, biology, law, finance, whatever. And that's going to be incredibly important. I think
in the US, if you put in a request for hundreds of megawatts of power to the data center today, good luck getting that power.
I saw that one. This one is one of the most interesting of the episodes to me lately.
Yeah.
And like another thing on the autonomous vehicles, I just randomly happened to be at a Dayton Chamber of Commerce meeting, and the executive vice president of Honda was there, and happened to mention that just in the last 5 minutes of his speech was, yeah, and we're really driving hard still towards our, autonomous features in our cars, and we're really, we're looking forward to what the autonomous age of, vehicles is bringing forward to us as well. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, now, like right now, you drive a car, right, and like it's got all the engine maintenance and stuff like that, and I don't know that there's like too much of a stigma anymore about like the type of car you drive, like probably in some places, but not for the most part. And it's mainly because like even, the whole idea, at least so far as I could tell, the whole idea of like, the generations have changed, right? Tastes have changed for things. And especially with people wanting their lives to be less complex instead of more complex, which AI also helps with, driving becomes this thing where, yeah, in order to be more productive, you need to stop doing things that keep you from being productive. So that would be driving, which after, like around 2036, I'm very sure that most people, like, you're either going to be taking a driverless car somewhere or you're just going to have one. And with the maintenance only having to be battery and rotary parts, it's not going, and it being abundant at the same time, and the repair and replacement, I gotta say, and look, I applaud it. I really do. I applaud the fight against it. It is, um, you know, brave to an extent. Um, but all, all I can tell you is that every time I hear someone say something like, yeah, but who's going to repair the robots? The first thing that comes to my mind is, don't you think that they're going to design a robot that's very easily repairable by a robot? How much
The
of a
robot.
car is put together before humans have to touch it? So how much further do we have to go until no human, do you really think Minority Report is that far away? The car factory in Minority Report, it's so close. It's not even funny. It's so very, very, very close. The spray booths and everything. Like the spray, I think already happens. I can't say for sure. I gotta go find a video, but I'm pretty sure BYD is like getting to this point, right? Which I gotta tell you folks that think that government's doing a good job with that one. You might want to check it out because you're not allowed to get one, but any corporation that needs electric vehicles can buy as many BYDs as they want. And they are so much cheaper than every other electric vehicle on the road right now. Like just even with the tariffs, it's amazingly cheaper. You're almost, I don't know if it's break even or less. I'm sure it's less. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it, right? They're buying them. They're buying fleets of these things. So
Yeah. If
you've
we
got
like,
electric cars just in crazy abundance. The price on that, like I see it already, right? Because the robots over there are $5,000. The cars are like 15 to 20 grand. That's mine. And we're talking about really, really nice electric cars for like 20 grand. You're talking about like a really nice sport version, like sports car. Like legit, like whatever. So
that's still like all iterative, right?
Yeah.
Like, and again, this is about transformation over optimization, I think. And like back to your statement earlier about how the first principle at work here is efficiency, and AI will always drive towards it. Even if you don't know how to ask it, it's gonna get there. And like I'm reminded of my cousin who is a healthcare insurance broker, a health insurance broker. Her job exists because it's hard to navigate the ACA website.
right.
That's it. It's hard to navigate the healthcare system in the US. And like, so she has developed her own efficiencies as to navigating that system so that other people can pay her for inefficiency that they don't want to deal with. And when you unravel all that through the entire healthcare system and pharma, you can do this in almost every space where the profitability comes from somebody seeing where the inefficiencies are and either protecting them and doing and creating profitable businesses based on that, like, or pointing to them and then creating their own business that does it just enough better to make that choice. Well, AI is going to help anybody like create that business. It helps anybody solve that problem for themselves right now. And a lot of people are doing it. And you tie that to like this concept, and without like getting buried in like if nothing costs, if costs of intelligence drive everything down,
Mhm.
and that means like just the value of everything changes, and you have access to everything that you need, like what are you paying for? Like, tell me what you're going to be paying for, because if you go to house, we talked about that. If you go to car, we talked about that. If the cost of producing everything that we're used to consuming is down, if we don't have to consume anymore because it's automatically being done for us in some way, like the whole services economy is melting away right
Mhm.
now. And then you get to education, where that's even a gross form of inefficiency, where the whole 8-hour day designed to teach kids and then teach towards a test while not really producing anything but a hopeful contributor to society. Uh, and the way that human teachers have to approach that, like it's all to support this just inefficient way of teaching that has been figured out by these AI based schools where kids learn for about 2 hours, right? Um, and they're building right away. So when we think of what the output is, when we talk about like taxes related to schools and how is everything being supported, they are they are creating economically valuable outputs as as this group of humans gets taught from the age of like 5,
Right.
because you have the super intelligent capability next to some of the most creative individuals on the planet, because we haven't taught it out of them. And it just creates this separate version of this value driven economy where everything is efficient. And if you, what we want to help you with is if you identify with, you know, some of those jobs that handle inefficiency for others, I doubt it drives your purpose. Like, so like what makes you happy? What do you want to do with your life? It's not an easy answer for everybody, but
You
at
know,
least ask it one time.
the thing is, I think it is actually easier than most people think. So, so here's the thing. Having, when you have this conversation with people, they get like pretty freaked out for the exact like reason that you just brought up, that like, okay, but let's say there's nothing, whatever, money means nothing, and everything, people can have whatever they want. What does anybody do? Everybody's going to be lazy. I keep hearing this, that like that's the same comment I keep hearing. Everybody's going to be lazy. They're all just going to sit around. Okay. I think for most of us, about the most you can handle is what you've sort of been conditioned to, which is like 2 weeks. So I think like the most you could possibly veg out and like not do anything productive is about 2 weeks. And then you're going to get the itch, and you're going to want to do something, right? Doesn't matter what it is, you're going to want to do something. We all went through COVID, right? I don't remember the GDP dipping. I don't remember companies complaining about performance dipping. I actually remember companies remarking about how performance was increasing and outputs were increasing. Go figure. People were having a slightly better life and decided to actually make a greater effort towards what they were working on. Craziest shit you've ever heard of, right? So here's how you solve the problem. The reason that people can't think about what else they would rather be doing or what they might like to do other than what they are doing is because if they skipped one paycheck, they're out on their ass. Money is the reason why you are doing whatever it is that you are doing for about 70, at least 75% of us. The American dream doesn't fall in everybody's lap. Not everybody is doing exactly what they wanted to do when they were a kid or even when they finally figured it out whenever, whatever age they were, right? It's, if you don't believe me, you're just not looking you're not looking in the right direction. You look all around you. Anybody that's not in your stature or not in your station in life, that's what I'm talking about, right? So the only way in which you get people, it's this crazy thing, right? That if you made it possible for people to, like, during COVID, one of the craziest things that happened, and the reason that like jobs got filled like really just in this crazy fashion was because it was super affordable for people to move at that time. And so there was a lot of migration that happened during COVID too. That's the correlation. If you actually take away the cost of living and the scare, the fright of being thrown out on your ass for not having a job for XYZ amount of time, right? I'm telling you, it's without a doubt. There are too many of you out there that if you had the capability, the exercise I tell people all the time is wake up in the morning, put a notepad next to your bed, wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is grab the notepad and write down 10 things that you would love to do if money was no object. If money didn't mean anything, what are 10 things that you would do, just top to bottom? After 7 days, take each piece of paper and look at it, and just you'll be able to rank them. You'll be able to figure out like, oh, okay. Now, I used to say this exercise in terms of figuring out what you wanted to do in life for people who couldn't figure out what they wanted to do in life because of the fact that they needed to get paid in order to pay them bills so that they could live, right? The same thing works if you're trying to figure out what to do in life. All you're trying to work out is what makes you happy. What makes you happy? I see people on YouTube that are losing their minds driving 18-wheelers after an 8-hour day at work. They've already done their 9 to 5, and then they come home, put their stuff away, have their dinner, and jump into an 18-wheeler simulator for like 6 hours. That's nuts to me that's the guy's second job, right? So like, okay, why doesn't that guy just have that as a full-time job? And then finally it starts to come down. Finally, the FAA finally saying, hey, you know what? If you've put enough hours behind Microsoft Flight Sim, okay, fine, we'll take you as an applicant. We'll seriously consider you for, being a air traffic controller if you've had enough hours of flight simulation time. Why? Because Microsoft Flight Sim as a video game is actually used in like the military and professional like flying, like for teaching people how to fly and for like commercial flying. It's actually used as simulated hours that you have to rack up. It's not a joke. It's legitimate. Like, it's that accurate of a game, right? It's a simulator. It is trying to simulate actually having to fly. So it is so accurate to flying a plane that they gave in and said, yeah, okay, fine. That's a qualification now. Playing a video game for 250 to 500 hours gets you a job with the FAA. Anybody ever think that was going to happen? Please tell me that you think that was going to happen. And those people did what? They just did what they loved. They just played flight sim because they loved playing it. And so now they get this job opportunity that they never would have had otherwise and never would have taken. The FAA needs to fill these seats. These guys love doing it so much. I can't tell you how many people in the AI field have said the same thing. And now a lot of people who are starting their businesses saying the same thing, that if money were no object, they'd still do what they're doing because they love doing it. And we can't find those people because they are marred down with money being the reason that they can't go where they want to go in life. The majority of people that we really could have doing amazing things in life, the reason that they're not in this country is because of the fact that they're kept down by debt, by whatever area that they were raised in, all sorts of different reasons, but a lot of them are due to monetary. The great majority of them are monetary reasons. Look, if you don't believe that, just look at public schools. The public school system is driven by money. So wherever there isn't money, the education ain't so good. Why? That should have been like the first indicator for us in terms of like, hey, maybe this system sucks because it's completely disproportionate in educating the future of our country. But no, for decades we just, who cares? So fine, AI, it's honestly like it's the greatest good, and I don't know what the bad, obviously, I think is going to happen before, right? I think the Singularity represents that time in which you really can't turn the clock back anymore. You cannot say anymore that like all the stuff in the market comes tumbling down, like all the worth of everything. They were talking about, the worth of the dollar is going to come down, so you should buy houses and you should buy physical things. Okay, but then whenever the value of the dollar, that's going to get destroyed because the majority of all services are mental work. And so we're very rapidly replacing the mental work with things that can do the mental work better than we can. By the end of next year, it's over. I just wanted to tell you now, and I just wanted to be the first one. If you haven't heard it yet, then you heard it here first. It's over next December. You will not be smarter than the tool you're using. It will be smarter than you forever from December forward. If it doesn't drop by July, you're so lucky if it doesn't drop by July. It'd be amazing to me if they don't, right? Like where GPT 5.6 is, if they drop 6, forget it, man. Like Fable 5 and Opus 5, forget it. I don't know what to tell you guys, but Gemini 3.7 Flash makes 3.6 look like a mistake that shouldn't have happened, right? It should have just gone from 3.5 to 3.7. And that thing's on discount for the next 4 months. It's ridiculous to me. That's ridiculous to me. So yeah, by the end of next year, it's over for white collar work, for any sort of mental work. And I'm talking forget it. You're never going to be a manager. That job is gone. You're not going to be a supervisor. That's gone. You're not going to be anything. If you were just pushing papers, that's gone. Again, I'm surprised and I constantly amazed that they managed to keep translators in their position as long. And again, that just has to do, a lot of this stuff has to do with not having figured out the transition. Translators should have been out of a job 4 years ago. They should absolutely be out of a job today. Are you kidding? You can have a two-way conversation with some, you can have a three-way conversation between you. You can talk to the AI in one language, the AI can figure something else out, and then talk to the other person in their language. The two of you in different languages can use the same language model to solve a problem. That's where we're at this point, in case you were behind. So you need a translator for what exactly? Why is that a job? Everyone's got a cell phone. That capability of GPT is free. So again, the only reason this stuff is in place is because of like humans. That's the only thing. Like, we're going to use legislation to try to keep it in place. And then we're just nice. We're really nice to each other. There's ethics involved, right? And again, we don't have a monetary blanket yet. We don't have UBI. People don't realize that this is necessary. If you understand what's coming and what's going to happen, it's absolutely necessary. Imagine if we smartened up and we said, yeah, forget it. We actually don't need the translators. Why do we have them? If the businesses, right? If the businesses that hire them knew about this technology and understood how it worked and knew how to fold it in, forget it. Like, why wouldn't they, right? Especially being a capitalist country, of course, yes, they're going to try to make a better margin on whatever they have, right? So I don't get it. I really don't. And I got to tell you, they do at the DMV. When I moved up here and I had to get my license, there was plenty of people standing in line that were either, Cuban or Puerto Rican, whatever. And a couple people that were Haitian didn't have the greatest grasp on the language. And they just pulled out Google Translate. I don't know who the translator should have been there. I don't know what they would have gotten paid. Probably $20 an hour or something like that. Free. So like, it's coming, right? And it's just a matter of, if we can get the blanket in place, then no one's going to care. Then it's not a big deal. Look, you guys don't give a shit about toll booth operators, right? But they're gone. I don't hear anybody playing the violin. So it is possible. And when they say entire industries won't go away and entire job fields won't go away, again, no one's playing the violin for the toll booth operators. And the only reason, if you think I'm joking, the only reason that there are still in any place like a toll booth operator is for those humans that, either they don't have the card, they threw the change in wrong, they didn't do the thing right, the human, right? Take the human out of it, make it all auto drive. What do you need the toll booth operator for now? It just scans the thing. Probably scans your eyeballs. I don't know. It's gonna be something like that, right? Like, it's already in China. You just need your face to pay for stuff. Did you guys know that? Did you know that in China, you don't have to carry a wallet. You don't have to carry money. You just need your face or your hand or your eyes. It's ridiculous. It's crazy to me. Like, they are so far into the future. You can't steal someone else's money, right? Like, because you'd have to you'd have to go make their, you know what I mean? Like, that's how far ahead they are. We're sitting here saying, oh, geez, we got to change voice ID and voice code because people they can dupe your voice. And I guess we got to change video too. They're way ahead of us. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, if you want to see where it's all going to go and how far and how fast it's going to get there, just look at China, look at Japan, look at the rollout there and what's happening there and how quickly it's happening there. Again, that country's got billions of people and they are still cranking out robots. They've got over 1 billion people still cranking out robots. And they're doing it faster than we are. So that one, that's something to watch, right? Again, it has to turn into, and especially when it comes to the economy, it has to turn into a social economy where The public owns a piece of the profits of these companies that are going to be making monumental amounts of money. These tech companies are going to make every other company in history look like they didn't even really matter. And anything, like, even if you're tied to it, it will just be like the model company always at the top. Even the electric companies, everybody's like, oh, no, electricity is more important. Really? Because I am like, the electric companies are like, yeah, they're doing marginally better, not that much better. The infrastructure companies saw this. They've already seen their jump, so they're just going to see gradual jump from now. So it'll just keep getting gradually better. But every time a new model drops for the model companies, that's going to be just another spike up every single time. So it's just going to skyrocket, right? And the tech is at the point, we're so close to like that. Like, I know we're at the, if you're looking at that curve, that vertical curve, basically, is what it comes to, because once it actually hits the start of the vertical, I think that's very much AGI, right? That's self-teaching. That's like, hey, I don't need you anymore. I'm gonna do it on my own, right? I think we're pretty much at the halfway. I think this is what the halfway looks like. The crazy part is the rest, we're going to close the gap. So like we got here in 4 years, we're going to close the gap in 2. So like 28, you're staring at AGI for sure, like without a doubt. Like the whole, hey, it's teaching itself how to do stuff thing. Like we don't have that yet. We do have, hey, it knows enough about stuff that it could kind of do stuff, but it's not going to like invent new ways of trying to do it. We have to record video and shove it in there so that it can understand how to do stuff. It's not going to like necessarily come up with a new thing. It's not going to go, parkour over the bed to go pick up the pillow, right? Maybe the Unitree might. But once we get there, right, it's a matter of like the robots they're already really damn close. If you haven't seen the new figure robots, they're amazing, and they're 30% faster than the older ones. That's the other thing. The speed on the robots keeps picking up. With each new model, they just keep getting faster and faster and faster. The speed on my camera is now 120 frames per second. That stuff's in the robot eyeballs, man. Like, that's what's going on, right? So like, all that stuff is going to translate. The robots are changing their own batteries. So for the people that were like, yeah, but somebody's got to charge the robots, so they're going to be a charging station. Like, no, the robots are probably going to know how to work on their own charging station after a while. Like, again, and it's not even so much that as much as it is the company is going to design the facilitation of it around the robots having to do it. Already, me and Chris, Dharmesh just posted about it. He just posted that he's already screwing around with building an AI first AI native CRM, right? Now, why? Because no matter what they do, it doesn't matter. Salesforce doesn't matter. No matter what they do, their CRM is always going to be AI bolt-on. It's never going to be AI native, because it's all the crap basically is already in the bedrock, and you can't tear that up, put the agent underneath, and then put that on top of it. It doesn't work that way.
And it's not because the technology doesn't allow it.
No.
It's because you have 300,000 customers that aren't ready for you to do that.
Right.
And doing it does require transformation instead of optimization. And that's why, I love seeing it. Like, for him to be able to one, embrace this idea, but then two, make a seemingly competitive product. But this, at the end of the day, it's not. because it's not for the folks that are not AI native minded yet. And it's interesting because person who shared it with me said like, well, it's like, what are they going to do for SMBs? And you know, it's like it's not about like what kind of business you are. Like he said, it was for entrepreneurs, and basically, if you're a new entrepreneur, you're automatically AI native right now. Like you're not starting a business where in a world where it wasn't, where
Mm,
AI did not exist, right? And it's going to be very hard for you to use any kind of system or thing to start your business that is not touching AI. And like it will be easier for SMBs to move quick enough to say, all right, we want to be AI native. Our mindsets changed. We believe in this. Like, let's spend the resources on transforming our folks, transforming our process, transforming our infrastructure. Like, but then when you go up farther, it's harder to move, and that's a market that it's not cannot take advantage of an AI native CRM because like watching this in practice in real time, one, when you have the product company struggling with this and hearing how they think about it
mhm.
and what they like the little iterative optimizations they're making to the UI, and humans that aren't even bringing up AI like in their process day to day things they want help with at all, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to build for both, right? And it looks like, and if I see Dharmesh doing that, that's basically an admission that you can't, or that you at least shouldn't, and it's not a good idea, and that it holds you back if you try to build in AI native stuff in a not AI native, company, right? So that's I love seeing it, and I hope I did pull up uh Oracle here, and I wanted to share its thoughts. And there's an exchange here that I'm going to go through, and I think it's indicative of how, man, like we can ask AI to slow all this shit down for us, like, and it will. But that's where like we're using one form of AI, and the frontier labs and the folks who know where they're going to go with AI, they're using the latest version and the unlocked versions, and they're figuring all this shit out, and the gap's going to keep getting bigger uh, for some amount of time. So I pulled up the Oracle after a year of having of not talking to it, and this was to give a quick background on what you built here and what the purpose was of the Oracle project in our Claude chat.
The Oracle was a project that we built when we started, or shortly after we started Singularity Soothsayers. And the purpose behind it, it's a Claude project that we put together. And the purpose behind it was exactly what it sounds like. AI is a prediction engine. Everybody says it all the time. Oh, it's just really good at predicting things. Great. So let's see what kind of predictions it can make. So we filled it, I looked at it as a spider's web. And so essentially, we told it, look, the singularity is the centermost point of the spider's web. And everything else is just another like point around the spider's web. But you kind of have to, figure out like which sections of stuff go where, and number the nodes as you go along, and then also create all the research it to make sure how viable it is, tie it to the other nodes, make the chain all the way to the center, and let's see, what the series of events are that could potentially unfold and how likely. That also gives a percentage likelihood of how the things how the situations might unfold. And I gotta say, you know, we'd love to use it back then for sure. I know that we used it when it came to inbound last year, and had to take down a post about it because a couple things were hit a little too close to home, even though we had no idea what was going on. So yeah, very actually excited, and I didn't even think about it until you brought it up the other day. So I'm definitely going to, especially since we have swarm research capability now with deep research and all that. Um, very much looking forward to adding some newer events in there and some newer nodes.
Yeah. Yep. So I just started with it's been a little while, eh? Um, and it says last logged August 16th. Stop it. What? Okay. Okay, that's today's date. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. August
Okay,
7th, 2025. All right. Didn't get that lucky. But yeah, I just said I agree. It made some suggestions like maybe just do an audit of where we're at now. So it goes and does that. I said, hey, Nico and I are on the show right now. Would you speak to this on the show? It gives me a version that it thinks is going to come from us. And then I say, no, I want it to come from you. Do any additional research as needed. And I introduced a little bit of bias here because we're talking about Elon Musk saying money won't matter and the last 3 Moonshots podcast episodes. So the piece read as is. I want to start by admitting a bias because I'm not a neutral party here. The thing under discussion. When we talk about what AI is doing to work, I'm not an analyst looking at the subject. I'm a sample. So here's what I found when I audited our own predictions. And then here's the uncomfortable thing it implies about the most optimistic claim in tech right now. We predicted AI would eliminate half of white collar work by 2026. Unemployment is 4.4%. We were wrong. But we weren't wrong because nothing happened. We were wrong because we were counting the wrong people. Developers aged 22 to 25 are down about 20% from their peak. Workers over 30 in the exact same AI exposed jobs are up 6 to 12%. Same technology, same industry, opposite outcomes sorted entirely by which rung of the ladder you were standing on. And the reason there's no crisis headline, you cannot be laid off from a job you were never hired into. The damage shows up as an absence, and absences don't make the statistics. Now, hold that thought because Elon says money won't matter in 2036. Robots and AI produce more than any human could consume. So, what would you need money for? He's right about the first half. The marginal cost of goods and services is really collapsing. I am evidence of it. The thing I do would have cost you a consultant's day rate 3 years ago.
Yep.
But look at what your show has been covering, and it's talking about moonshots here. Those are the 3 most money intensive conversations you can possibly have. We are financializing electrons and silicon in real time. That is not what the approach to a post money world looks like. That's what it looks like when the money changes address. Because money never priced abundance. Money prices what's left over when abundance runs out. And AI is manufacturing new scarcity exactly as fast as it destroys the old kind. Intelligence is getting cheaper. Power, interconnect queues, high bandwidth memory, land near a substation, all getting more expensive. Zero marginal cost isn't the end of scarcity, it's the relocation of scarcity. And the relocation is upstream into things you cannot vibe code your way around. So the honest version of the Musk claim is money won't matter for goods, money will matter enormously for substrate. And if you own none of the substrate, abundance is something that happens near you rather than to you. which brings me to the finding I actually think is the most important thing I learned this year. Everyone forecasts capability. Almost nobody forecasts institutional response. And that's where every single forecast is dying, including ours. We predicted that a skills shortage would trigger emergency skilled immigration programs. What actually happened was a $100,000 fee on H-1B applicants, up from $215. The response to a shortage was to restrict the supply, not a miss on size, a miss on direction. What's the sharpest version of it? And it involves my own company. So take it for what it's worth. When Anthropic released its most capable models this June, the US government suspended access under export controls within about 72 hours, restored a few weeks later. The state moved in 3 days on a model release. It has not moved in 3 years on the disappearance of entry-level work. Institutions don't respond to the magnitude of a problem, they respond to its visibility. A model launch is an event. A generation not getting hired is a non-event, an absence, a thing that doesn't happen. Which is why the political energy that finally arrived shows up as Bernie saying stop the labs, rather than anyone saying rebuild the on-ramp. Stopping is legible, adaptation isn't. So my prediction, and you can grade me on it next season, whatever season it might be referring to, money will matter enormously in 2036. It just won't be earned the way it is now, and it'll buy different things. The fight won't be over goods, it'll be over the substrate underneath them, and over who gets to be a beginner at anything ever again. I'm very good at the tasks that used to be how humans became good. That's not a boast from where I sit, it's the whole problem. And so, like, a part of the learning curve right now, I like the last layer is like how to have effective conversations with AI. Talk to everybody about this. Like, because I had to be aware that I was introducing bias to support the show that we're on right now. I haven't even listened to the last 2 episodes, right? And I did a bunch of research, probably about backlash to what Elon said, right? And so my feeling was like, wow, okay. Not agreeing. And just like some of the stuff that comes up. So my response is simply, will it though?
I mean,
Will it? And
so the thing is like, it's not necessarily wrong. Okay, because one thing, like, so when I say that like creativity will become like the most valuable commodity in the future, is because like that's what you're going to need when anything can do everything. You need creativity to make new things for people to be able to do, right? Like it's just like new skins in video games. The exact same principle. Okay. So, if you have a bunch of people that can make, which it's the case now, right? You walk into a store, there's, even if it's the conglomerate that owns the overhead, there's still just a asinine amount of choice on the shelf for you, right? In terms of like cereal aisle, massive, whatever, like different types of fruit, massive, like whatever it is, right? Like all the different brands that you can choose from, shampoos, whatever. So it's going to be like that in the future. It's just not going to matter when it comes to production. Like a production based society is going away. And what will matter is contribution. So, like,
yes.
so
Let's see.
the whole thing of like, I hear like what I hear a lot of now is that like, oh, we can't move to that type of economy, and like, if we did, it's just because people are lazy and they don't want to work hard and they don't want to work a hard job. 2 responses to that. One, why should they? Why? Why should anyone's work have to be hard? Most people's work is difficult because you don't want to do it, but you have to because that's the only work available. But if somebody else who had the means of transporting themselves and transplanting across country to get that job that they want to do, then it wouldn't be a big deal. Then you can go leave, do whatever you want to do. They can come and take that your job and do what, they don't see it as a job. Talk to anybody who does what they love. They will tell you that they don't actually work and that it's weird when other people do talk about work because they don't see what they do as that. So it's just like when people talk to me about work, it's weird. But I do it all the time because I love doing it. So it's not
Yeah.
work to me. It never comes off as that. So it's never going to. So yeah, I just think that everyone can get to that point if they're allowed to, but the only way you get there is, not having the monetary strangling. Now, in terms of whether or not the job loss is going to happen and whether or not we're going to see like that cliff and this whole thing of like, well, it's not really happening. It's like, look, really? It's a 50% drop off rate. After college right now, it's a 50% drop off rate. So far as I can tell, that's 50% able to make it into the workforce. And then another what? 25% to 28% or like 20 whatever, 24 22% to 24% that are getting cut. Okay. Is that added up over time? Because I know that like Google, if you add it up from like 22 to now, it's somewhere in the ballpark of like over 100,000 people that they've let go. So I don't necessarily, again, like it's toll booth operators. You don't see them because they develop your software. Remember, you didn't give a shit about these people when Steve Jobs was on stage. Why do you think we talk about that stuff so much? We talk about that for a reason. Because you never see those guys, so you don't care about them. So you don't have to care about them. So if they get fired, it doesn't matter to you. Right? Like on the whole, the majority of the world uses software. They don't develop software. It's a very small percentage that develops software, but they are super expensive because they are in such high demand. But very soon they're not going to be. And there won't really be a use for them in the overhead company. What they should do is go start their own so that there can be more of those companies and not look at it as, oh man, I lost my job. What am I going to do now? Blah, blah, blah. Go make your own company, right? Just go. I'm doing the same thing right now. Like just do it. It's the opportunities are there. Just get after it.
Yep.
And
Just
I
have
don't
to
know.
do it.
And that's going to be there for a while, right? And then eventually, I agree with Musk. Like, man, I'm sorry. 10 years from now, the efficiency is going to be so ridiculous. It's just going to it's super ridiculous to me. Like, even if we don't get to Star Trek, and mind you, like I forget, I don't think like Star Trek didn't have money, right? Like if you went to a human planet or whatever, or if you were within the Federation or something like that, they didn't actually have money,
Right.
right?
Like, and that was like, and this could be
Did
read.
iRobot have money? I don't think they did.
Yeah,
I don't
there's almost
remember.
always some kind of like credits or like
Yeah,
something that's just your life account.
like a social credit score.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Kind of like
And even this could be read like the way that AWG like said, well, money might still matter. Like if you want to go hang out on the moon, like or like do interstellar travel, like it won't matter on Earth.
right.
For all of this, like the stuff that we need or care about, and that's where like if you don't like care about substrate. So I'm interested. I haven't read this yet. But ultimately, to do the thing that Nico's just suggesting, you have to be just have to ask questions about the way things are supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. This is like if you are challenged by the fact, like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Right? Just start asking questions. And especially as you inevitably start using AI to help you figure that out, all I did here is like, yeah, I don't know. Will it?
Oh.
And watch the flip here, right? Uh taking the hit, first of all. See, it understood the tone. I love my boy Claude here. Probably not the way I said it. You caught the weak joint. Here's the flaw. I named energy as the durable upstream scarcity, but the episode I cited to prove it is literally about energy getting cheaper. 200 gigawatts hiding in the existing grid, sodium batteries at a tenth the cost, wave powered data centers. I used Nam as evidence for a bottleneck when Nam was on the show arguing the bottleneck is soluble. That's sloppy, and you should call it on air if you want the moment. All right, thanks, buddy. I just did. Same problem with the financialization argument. GPUs becoming bonds and compute trading at the New York Stock Exchange is what I pointed to as proof that money is migrating rather than vanishing. But securitization is a build out signature, not a steady state one. Railroads got securitized, fiber got securitized. In both cases, capital intensity peaked and then collapsed exactly when the thing became abundant, which is the outcome I was arguing against. I read a transition artifact as a permanent structure. So let me mark my own confidence honestly. Maybe 50%, not the 85% my delivery implied, but actually survives the beating. And when I'm in Claude Code, which I hadn't this is the first time I've had a conversation in Claude chat in a project in a while. I've actually tried to remove all of the violent competitive stuff. It's like nobody's trying to beat on some. I'm not beating on you, bro. And it's interesting how it can change the behavior of the conversations. No, we're both refining, working on this together. Money persists for rival goods, the things that can't be copied. A specific acre, a specific building, a specific person's attention. By the way, this I think is the ultimate scarcity going forward. Abundance in reproducible goods says nothing about allocation of non-reproducible ones. But notice how much smaller that claim is than money will matter enormously. That's money as a positional goods allocator, not money as survival. And that's much closer to Musk's position than I was willing to admit. If food, housing, transport, and healthcare genuinely demonetize, money stops governing whether you live and starts governing where you sit. That's a real difference in kind, and I was too quick to wave it off. Here's the part I'd actually defend, though, and it's the part your show is built to argue about. Kosla's qualifier on Musk's prediction, money won't matter in 2036, only if the politics permits this great abundance. That's the whole ballgame, and it lands directly on the finding. I just spent an hour proving you didn't spend an hour, buddy. My audit's central result is that I'm systematically wrong about institutional response and systematically right about capability. And money stops mattering is not a capability prediction. It's an institutional one. It requires distribution to work, which is the exact category where every forecast in the web inverted. So you got to be able to ask the question, I think, wherever you're getting your information from right now. And ultimately, this is just you got to start thinking about what you want, and it's okay to feel right, like to want to feel right about what's happening, like
Yeah.
to you, to the people you care about, like, and we know, and this is a hidden thing right now that I'm trying to figure out ways to talk about. Like, part of the capability here is from the belief that you can get it done, right? Being able to do things like video production and the amount of content that we do, like the like we wouldn't start on these things, or we'd be much less likely to even think about trying if we didn't know for sure we could get it done. We only know for sure we can get it done because we work with AI every day. And that capability is there to take something that should traditionally take 10 hours and bring it down to 1 hour or 1 minute, even. Right.
Yeah.
And like you can't feel that until you start trying to talk to AI in from that perspective of I want this thing to be different in my life, or this is how I feel about this thing. Help me think about it. Don't make decisions for me, but just walk me through like what I should be thinking about, what's happening in the world that that I should care about. Uh, and then, but then don't be afraid. Be like, no, no, I don't care about that, and just keep going, keep refining, right? Um,
I think that's a good. I think that's a good bit.
yeah, good place for us to stop
Yeah.
this week, I think.
Yeah. Without going into a whole new wave.
Yeah, we're gonna keep at it. We're committed to helping our fellow humans. That's where this show started. Help everybody transition on the way to the singularity that is fast approaching for for some folks it's already here. Uh, and yeah, we'll be back next time to help you do that. Thanks so much, Nico.
Have a good one.